Ooh. Hey, hello. Hello. What's this? Reflected Tones got in early with a comment there. Hello. So I'm thinking at the start of my live streams, I should do like the news and whatever in terms of my channel so that anyone who's watching this on catch up, you get like the important stuff first, or like, I don't know. I've only just thought of it, and so I haven't really like fleshed out the idea, and I don't have any notes on like what should be part of my like news sort of. Hello there, General Kenobi. Yeah, no, so oh my god, this is why I need to get the memberships thing going so that we have like a proper emoji instead of whatever that is. Hello, hello. Wow. You're all making it today. Yeah, no, I was thinking at the start of my live streams I should start off with like like the sort of like news, or like at like meetings how they have an agenda, they sort of go through like the notices for the week or so on. Just yeah, mostly for people who are watching on replay. To get the things about my channel, but also as a way to start the live streams, because usually it takes a while for people to turn up. So hello everyone, if you want to jump in with something, go for it. But so yeah, with my channel, news for the week is I finally got all my Samsung stuff, so hopefully I'll stop making tech videos about it. Oh, hello and welcome, Phil Marshall Airsoft. Haven't seen you around in a while in the comments. Yeah, so we've got a few of you here. Anyway, yeah, no, so I've got all my phone stuff delivered. I'm good. And he's always grumpy, but that's just how it is, right? But yes, so I have finished all my phone. I've got all my deliveries. And so, yeah, I'm hoping I can move on and make some other kinds of videos, which people who've signed up for tech stuff may get a little bit like, oh, what the fuck after this. But yeah, my channel is chaos. And if you didn't know that, I'm not sorry. Anyway, also in while I'm here on tech news for my channel, my mum has officially stolen my Buds Pro. Oh, that's good. Smile. Yeah, my mom took my Buds Pro. I've been telling her to take them for a while, and she's finally like, yeah, actually I do want them, because she's been around the house like doing work and trying to listen on the ones that came with her S20, and it's like got a cable and it's not very good like for the way she wants to use things. So I was like, yeah, take them, because like I don't really listen to earbuds, headphones. I really mostly just have the speakers if I want to listen to stuff. What is T-Rex in the background? It's like a oh, so it's a thing my friend T-Rex. Let me just move that. My friend got me this teacup, but it's huge. Speaking of, today's teacup is the many moods of Captain Holt, because someone, look at the size of that cup, and like, I drink a lot of tea, but I don't drink that much, so I haven't really figured out what I'm going to do with that. That's why I haven't even taken it out of the box, because I'm just like, do I put stuff in it, or do I just leave it in the box and have it as a display? I don't know. But yeah, no, so today's cup, I actually bought it for, so I've never been happier. I'm having to read this backwards. I'm devastated. I'm in a state of total euphoria. I'm in incredible pain. And I got this for the boys in my family for Christmas, but all my favorite cups are in the wash at the moment, so it's the same size and shape, so it's like, yoink. I wasn't so sure to assume it was a teacup because it's so big. Teacup for a big dino. Yeah, pretty much, hey. Snowed a lot in Canada. It seems like a lot of places in the Northern Hemisphere are really, really cold at the moment. Like I've heard in China they were running out of power, and Texas, I think they're having trouble with the power, and it's like heaps cold, and wind turbines are freezing over or something, and solar panels have snow on them, and yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Here in Sydney, the weather was really weird today. It was sort of sunny and then cold and wet, and then I thought I was getting sunburned, but so the sun was coming from this side, and I was just like, shit, I'm getting sunburned, and then all of a sudden there's rain coming from this side, and it got really cold, and I had to go get my jumper. It was a weird day. We just got rid of our last snow. You know, the Netherlands appeared on the news for having so much snow. My brother threw me into the snow. I hope in like a fun way. Where's your God now green renewable energy? Well, I mean, green energy is a bit of a marketing term, don't you think? Because like I mean, I get the idea, but it's not completely green because a lot of the components are kind of toxic and difficult to recycle. So green and also renewable. How renewable does it have to be to count? But anyway, we just got a lot of snow here too, hoping it's enough that my lab gets cancelled. Online classes or not, somehow some classes still find a way to make us come in. Yeah, what are you studying with a lab? Like, is it like science lab or computer lab, or what else do we call labs? Labrador labs? Yeah, no, so news for my channel is, let me just focus on this for a moment. So I really need to like write a list through the week of some points to go through at the start of my live stream, get them out of the way so anyone catching the replay can get like those things real quick. And yeah, no, I didn't expect so many people to turn up at the start. Usually it takes a while to get going. Imagine sleeping. Sleeping? Biology. Oh, so they might make us come in and look at plants or something to talk about photosynthesis. When all the plants are dead and there's a blizzard out. Oh my God. Speaking of, here's my bonsai shirt. Couldn't be me. Yeah. Okay, biology. I didn't really do a whole lot of biology in school. I think I did chemistry. And then I did a little bit in uni, but dropped out real quick because it was just like, this is not the course that I should have been in. That was when I was doing mechatronic engineering and medical science, and I was just like, yeah, nah, I don't need to be told what a system is. But anyway, how's the PC? The PC's going well. I've actually, like, now that I've got a few more updates on the graphics card to work well with some of the software, like it's rendering stuff really fast, and I'm just like, I do walk out of the room sometimes when it's rendering things, but it when I look at how long it took, I was like, that actually went a lot faster than I was expecting. So the video editing programs I use HitFilm for when I'm doing like a lot of effect stuff, and it doesn't seem to be stuttering like it used to, but then again, I'm doing like weird videos on it anyway, so stuttering's not a problem. And then for like just the regular stuff, like yesterday's video about the S Pen, I used DaVinci Resolve, and it's like easy to just chuck stuff in there. But the effects stuff, it does have effects, but the workflow is very confusing, and I haven't quite got my brain around it yet. Mine didn't turn out well. It's been playing games. Hasn't been playing games well. Something hasn't been working. Yeah, no, I haven't really been playing games. I've been doing video instead. Dig the hair too, about how long does the sort of fan effect last when you get it done? I only ever saw the thumbnails, but it looks incredible. Like sticking it up and all that, the fan sort of thing. So I've washed my hair. I washed my hair on Sunday, and I didn't put any product back in. But if I put product in, and if I tease it, so like you brush it in the wrong direction, the product is like this. Maybe I should show you guys one day how to do my hair, but a fan of the hair. Yeah, so I put like this stardust powdery stuff, which kind of makes it like when hair's clean, it's hard to do all that kind of stuff. So it's like gives the effect of it being dirty, but without being dirty. It's just this white powdery kind of thing that goes in, and then you back brush it, and then you spray it with a whole lot of hairspray. I've also got like some, what is it called? It's in the bathroom. There's this, it's like, I think it's like a mousse or something. I don't really know which products I should be using. Like, they're left over from when I used to go to Fur, which was like 5-6 years ago, and my hairstyle was a bit different. So I don't know if that's the right stuff for me to get the fan effect. I find that really difficult. That's why I got a bit shorter this time. I haven't attempted it with this hair yet. But yeah, I'm thinking I might need to ask my hairdresser for like the hardcore hairspray that he used on my hair, if I can't figure it out this time, but we'll see. Yeah, okay. So you guys distract me so well. Yeah, phone, no more phone videos. Maybe. I mean, if I find like some exciting feature and I'm like, hey guys, you guys know me, I can't help it. I would just turn up and be like, I found out another thing. Because there's just like, I'm really not a text and a phone person, so I don't really know what I'm supposed to be expecting. But yeah, I've received all the things that I ordered. And so I won't be unboxing any tech for a while at least. Another thing I thought I should mention is if you guys have me on Facebook, or even if you're following me publicly, don't tag me in bonsai stuff, because for one thing, I've seen almost like everything. And for another thing, my DestroyerMariko page got tagged in a bonsai, well, plant sort of thing. And I think when you tag that profile instead of my personal one, it struggles even harder to find the tag, especially if the only thing you do is write my name or my page name, because when it's like a high volume post, Facebook seems to hide those as not relevant. And even when you say show all comments, it doesn't show all comments. And so that gets lost and I can't find whatever you're trying to tell me about. But also I've already seen the posts, so don't tag me in plant stuff because everyone tags me. It's like, when I was in the Rainbow Death Ray, everyone would tag me in unicorns and the unicorn death metal t-shirts. And I'm just like, I am saying this and I do not want to be associated with unicorns for the rest of my life. Also with the bonsai stuff, like I'm enjoying bonsai, but when you tag me in one that has like there's this one that it's this huge thing and someone's built like a tree house in the bonsai. I've seen that one so many times. And yeah, okay, it's cool. I get it. But because I do bonsai maintenance, whenever I see that, I'm just like, oh, thank fuck I'm not the person who has to deal with that one. Like, when you get overly complicated with that, I just get this sort of like, can you imagine trying to do maintenance on that thing? So yeah, make my life easy. Don't tag me in those things. I think most of your subscribers are from the Western Hemisphere. No, I've got people all across, all around the globe. I mean, I think most of my subscribers would be in the Northern Hemisphere, but that's because most of the population of the world seems to be up there. I mean, you've got China and India, and so that's most of the world already. But in terms of Western subscribers, you've got America and Canada up north, and Europe up north, Britain, and it's really like down here is like Australia, New Zealand. Those are probably the major ones. So I would say most of my subscribers are in the Northern Hemisphere. And yeah, because what counts as the Western Hemisphere? I don't know. Isn't most of the Southern Hemisphere just ocean? Yeah, pretty much. And when you look at civilization and the way it's operated, it's not really surprising that Europe to Asia, that sort of band, someone did a great explanation of this. That band of land is where early human civilization really took off, whereas like in the Americas and in Australia, it's sort of like modern civilization as we know it didn't really happen until settlers came. And I think it's partly because like that massive land, Europe to Asia, like everything's really connected. The weather is like, because it's all the Northern Hemisphere, everything's a bit similar enough. And I don't remember all the reasons, but with the exchange of ideas, and it also ties into like viruses, which is a little bit topical, I guess, because viruses are constantly moving. People were really packed in with civilization in terms of population. And so you get a lot of those viruses circulating and you get plagues. And then, people survive. And so when they go to the Americas or to Australia, they bring all their crazy diseases that have been in this like melting pot. And that's why they messed up the tribes who lived there more than the diseases from those new worlds messed up Europe, Asia, blah, blah, blah. What got me on that tangent? I don't even know. Western Hemisphere. Yeah, the way geography affects civilization is kind of interesting. I mean, it's a little bit slightly less relevant today, but still relevant in a lot of ways. Because if you think about some of the places that have sort of advanced faster or become more prosperous faster, like it's very hard to make a lot of progress if you're in a landscape that's constantly getting, like earthquakes and hurricanes, and like, if the weather is, if nature is constantly messing up everything you build, it's a little bit harder to make progress. And if you think about Australia's actually pretty stable. Like I know we have bushfires and stuff now and then, but that's more in the bush. Like in Sydney, things are pretty like chill as far as that goes. Some parts of Sydney get hit by weather a bit worse, but overall, like we don't get hurricanes. Well, in the southern hemisphere, it's cyclones. We don't get that kind of stuff. We don't get tornadoes here. We don't get earthquakes here. We don't get masses of snow here. It's very kind of chill. So even though we're southern hemisphere, we're not connected to that main Europe, Asia kind of area. Like, because like Britain went, like had this huge empire, all these different places, and not everywhere has been successful in that sort of way. Although I suppose it depends on how much you mess with the culture of the people already living there. Anyway, so I'm just like, I'm just spurting out little fragments of things my brain remembers, but not in a very sequential way, because it's just like little snippets of information. So if I'm not making complete sense, that's what's going on there. And maybe I shouldn't talk so much about stuff that I can barely remember. But hey, you got me on a tangent there, didn't you? All right, well, was there any other news stuff that, no, there's not really any news things I had to cover. It's already like, 17 minutes in. So yeah, but maybe next week I'll try and like have some notes on some quick things to just get through, so that anyone catching up can get like, what's the summary of what's going on in well, maybe not in my life, but maybe in like channel relevant things. I guess the only other thing to add would be that music video I've been working on. It's making some progress, and there's like I've been playing with some of the effects, and things are looking fun. That I've discovered some things in the software that I was like, oh yeah, and then playing with some different techniques and coming up with different looks and stuff. So yeah, I can't wait to show you that, but it's not ready yet. Got a bit more polishing to do on it, but I'm getting towards that end stage. And yeah, then I got to talk to my collaborator, and we'll work out exactly when to release it, how to release it. Do I do it as a premiere on the channel? And if so, what time? What time of day? It's really hard because like I'm in Australia, and I know we've got people in Europe and people in America. And so we're all like spaced out in the most awkward time zones to all get together. So yeah, once again, sorry to anyone who was in a bad timing with this stream, but yeah, at the moment with the way my life is, this is just the easiest time to get on and do some live streaming. So but yeah, so what else has been going on? Victoria went into lockdown since we last talked, and that's been confusing because it's not just Melbourne, the city, that locked down, it's all of Victoria, including like tiny little rural towns miles away from Melbourne where all the stuff was going on. And it's like, I don't know what to think about because like the justification for shutting down is it was the UK strain. About a dozen people had it, but they were all linked to the hotel that it escaped from. So it's not like there were any mystery cases. Um, but Daniel Andrews, who's the premier of Victoria, was saying how like it's spreading so fast, and by the time they've found one person, they've already spread it to their family and blah 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 blah. The thing is, like, they don't know that it spread that fast because they hadn't had the tests to say that this person had infected all these other people. I think what he meant to say is that the number of contacts they were tracing was growing really, really fast. So not the virus infections themselves, but the number of contacts they were having to trace. And it just annoys me a bit that he's going onto these press conferences saying, oh, it's spreading so quickly. And like, I don't, like, to me, it's inaccurate. Like, I get that they're trying to be serious about it and they need people to get with the program. But when you exaggerate things, I think you risk losing people. Like, there's already people who are skeptical of different aspects of this whole pandemic. And I just don't know that it's helpful to exaggerate in that way or like misstate what's happening. To me, it sounded like a contact tracing issue because they had a dozen people who have their bunch of contacts, and then those contacts have secondary contacts. So yeah, that was something that puzzled me a bit, and I think the language was probably not accurate. And also shutting down all of Victoria was a bit of a shock. Like, Victoria is one of those more paranoid states. I live in New South Wales, where if we have an outbreak, we kind of wait and see rather than shut everything down. With Victoria, they are one of the more paranoid states. So I was expecting Melbourne to go into a lockdown, especially after what they went through last year, and they don't want to go back to that. But the entire state, I had to do a double take because like I heard that they went into lockdown, but I didn't click that it was the entire state. I thought it was just Melbourne. And then I was watching the news and they're like, no, it's the entire state. It's like, you're serious? And one of the justifications for that is that they didn't have time to set up barriers around Melbourne to stop people escaping into rural areas. And I can kind of understand that because when Brisbane locked down, a lot of people tried to just drive out of the city and go off to the Sunshine Coast or whatever to try and escape lockdown. And it's just like, okay, maybe you're trying to stop people doing that. But it is also a bit like, they did this ahead of Chinese New Year and Valentine's Day, which businesses were gearing up to. And I'm just not sure that it was the right thing to shut down even like the tiniest town miles away from Melbourne. So yeah, that's like the Australian politics of the pandemic is kind of an interesting thing because different states have different ways of doing things. And I think Victoria might have overdone it. But on the other hand, like, I started to wonder whether or not the health experts knew something that they weren't telling us, because if you're shutting down the entire state and you're insisting that this thing is moving so fast because it's the UK strain and blah, 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 I was like, they must know something if they're shutting down everything and being this dramatic about it. But so far we haven't discovered that. And now they're going to be lifting lockdown tonight, I think, on time instead of extending it. And if they were that convinced that it was spreading so fast, and we have an incubation period of about 14 days, and we've seen some cases that seem to last a bit longer than that, I'm just a bit like, if you're that convinced that it is spreading that fast, should you come out of lockdown? I mean, they haven't found the cases they're expecting to, which to me says like it wasn't going that fast. It was the contact tracing, the contacts that were building up fast. And I know like well, I don't know, but it seemed to me that Victoria, their systems perhaps aren't as capable as what we seem to have in New South Wales. I mean, even the medical system in Victoria appears to be different. That like, was it Norman Swan, Dr. Norman Swan, I think, who was talking about how the Victorian system of doing health is quite different to the New South Wales system of doing health. And so there's potentially a lot of things that are different in Victoria that mean that they can't necessarily follow the way New South Wales has done everything. But I don't know for sure. This is just me thinking like, why did they do this? Why did they make these decisions? Is there more that they Like, was there something that they knew that they didn't want to panic people about? But it appears no, because they're lifting the lockdown based on the cases that have been made public, and there's not as much as they were maybe scared of. But I guess we'll find out in 2 weeks. And I didn't actually get a chance to check, like, when they lift lockdown, what the new restrictions are, because it sounds like they're not going to completely open up all of a sudden. They'll still have some measures in place, but I do kind of, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. Who's this? This is Hopi. Hey, Hopi! You want to come up? Oh, what are you looking at, babe? Have you lost something? You coming? No, he's not sure. He's not sure what to do. Oh, are you going to come and sit behind me? Oh, he's going to sit behind me. Just there. How is my health going? It's fine. Just got a lot of hay fever. He's cute, hey. Oh. Yeah, no, my health's fine. It's really just the hay fever, and I can't really take anything for it because I get drowsy. Like, I can take it if it's going to be one of those days where I'm just chilling out. But when like today, I had to drive, so I can't take an antihistamine. Like, even the kids' Dimetap. Ready for hay fever in summer. What do you mean ready for? And also I think I get just like hay fever type things all year. So that's no fun. I don't know. Done with winter. Well, yeah, I guess winter over there is pretty full on, whereas winter here is a bit right now the weather doesn't feel like summer. It's been more like autumn. Although last year it also rained a lot this time of year, because that's when my cousin visited from Japan. You know, she got in just in time, didn't she? Yeah, well, I think it's gonna go on for a while. You know, like we've got all the vaccine rollouts are starting, but it's gonna take a while to get like everyone around the world done. And until then, there's still a chance of like more variants. And like we're seeing with the South African strain, the vaccines aren't quite as effective. It sounds to me like they still do a little, but maybe not enough for people to have, like, for the experts to have full confidence. But yeah, no, I think it is going to drag on for a while. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I started thinking about, you know, how do I want to do my creative life? What do I want to focus on? How do I want to approach music? All that kind of stuff. So, anyway, well, I'm getting close to half an hour. Let me see if I can finish my tea. Yeah, no, that Brooklyn Nine-Nine is such a weird show. Sometimes the humor, I'm just like, really? Like, I can see how it's funny, but also like, what? Why? Sometimes it's just a bit odd. And I know my brother loves it. If he was a cop, it'd basically be a show about his life, I reckon, especially with all the jokes he likes to make. And so sometimes keep experimenting with music because thank you. Yeah, no, once I finish this music video, I want to get back into doing some covers, but also some original stuff. Yeah, no, we watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine after the news tonight, because 7:30 is just, I don't have patience for it today. Sometimes those programs, like, they just speculate about something and like, okay, great, but it's just speculation. You know, sometimes I just don't have patience for that sort of thing, you know, wondering. It's a bit like, you know, when I was waiting to get more information about this phone, because like I knew it was coming, but there were so many articles where they're like, oh, here's another rumor, and here's what we want to see, and here's what we think they might do. And I'm like, I don't care. Just tell me when we have solid information what it is, and I'll decide if I want to get it. You know, it's funny the tech world likes to engage in that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm just not into that sort of, that building of the buzz when you don't really know what's going on. Oh, all right. Someone throw something at me because I'm no, not really. Don't actually throw something at me. You'll probably break your screen. Oh my god. Yeah, no, I've sort of run out. I went on a bit of a tangent, and now I've sort of like come back to whatever this is, and I'm like, wait a minute, I was talking about stuff. Why am I here? What year is it? What's going on? And there's more doors and stuff rattling around the place. Um, you talk about the AR phone stuff, really? Really? I thought everyone was getting a bit bored with the tech stuff. Because, like, I've just had this huge period where most of the videos I've made have been tech with that, like, one ant video. Yeah, no, the AR mode, so, like, it's in the camera. You go to more, and there's, like, this AR doodle thing, and it says move your camera around for a bit, and it sort of picks up where I don't know how it works, but it sort of gets an idea of what the room looks like. And then you can just, like, walk around. Even if I didn't do that for this side of the room, it just sort of knows what's going on. And, yeah, and then you can draw on it. And if you watched the last video, at the end of it, I do all the AR doodle stuff and try and aim things into a circle and all that. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know what the application of that is. And yeah. Oh, Hopi, what are you? He just looked up. He looked a bit startled. Yeah, no, it's kind of an interesting thing, but at this stage, a bit of a gimmick. Like, as far as AR goes, I guess it was good for, like, Pokemon Go, that sort of basic version of AR, except that, like, you could point your camera at different things to make something appear there on purpose. If you did it right. So I got some interesting photos on the old phone doing that. It was very basic. I think this AR is a bit more advanced, which you'd expect after a few years. But other than for gaming, I suppose if you were, like, walking around the city, I have heard of, like, plans to have AR. If you walk around the city and, like, have the camera and it can tell you things about what's around you. Like, imagine if you're trying to find directions to somewhere and you can just film where you are and it'll say, okay, go this way. But I feel like that's probably more useful if you have like what happened to Google Glass? Like the little glasses, smart glasses, and you can see like a little thing on your like just like into your eye or something. I don't know exactly how it works. I know a guy who had one. Or got to play with one. I don't know if he actually owned it. But yeah, I feel like AR would work better for that. So that, because like, holding a phone around and looking at stuff, oh my God, it's not the most convenient. Whereas if it just appeared sort of like, Terminator vision, where you can just see like, someone's name could appear above their head or something. And instead of having to get your phone and go, oh, what is it? You could just have, it just appear in your vision, like, a name over someone's head or whatever. Until we get that, I'm not sure that it's the most practical technology. And then the whole Google Glass experiment had its own issues, like a VR headset, but smaller. Yeah, well, I don't know if you followed the whole Google Glass thing, but it's basically like you wear a pair of glasses and it had a tiny little thing that was like a screen into your eye. Like, I don't know if it projected into your eye or if it just superimposed things on your vision, but that was sort of the idea of it. And it got banned in a few places because one of the ways it does stuff is like it had little cameras in it. And so you could be filming anything that you're looking at. And of course, people freaked out with the privacy. So how they'd pull that off in a practical way that doesn't freak people out would be interesting. If the camera is necessary to AR, maybe that's a problem. But if it's just, yeah, I don't really know how they would do it. I feel like a camera would sort of be necessary to be able to superimpose the things where they need to be. So as long as there's a camera on Google Glass, people might be a little bit freaked out about privacy issues. because you can't tell really if someone's recording. At least with a phone, you can see someone being heaps creepy in your face, like trying to record you. But on the glasses, you just look somewhere and it could be recording. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And I'm also not sure if AR is the exact right term for what was happening in the Google Glass, but I feel like it's the similar kind of thing. So yeah, like useful, but I guess it's like anything humans create. It could be used for good or evil. A bit like, with nuclear power versus nuclear bombs. Like nuclear technology could be used for good or evil. And probably more reliable than some of those wind turbines freezing over. But hey, that's just me. I don't know. I just feel like if climate change is such a big problem, shouldn't we have a bit of nuclear, at least in the conversation? And, because it's carbon free, it's not as scary as history. The old Russian Chernobyl one was some outdated piece of garbage they were experimenting on, rather than something that's modern and safe and operated properly. Is Hopi just tapping on something? Give me a sec. More than 1 second. Oh, Hopi got stuck. Oh, poor little Hopi. He was trying to get out into the other room, but everyone closed the doors. I don't think any of the climate stuff is aimed to actually fix anything. I think if climate change is a problem, why doesn't the government do something about it? Almost like money is worth more than the entirety of the earth. I think one of the things about climate change is it's a slower problem, and it's harder to see the issues with it like straight in your face. Whereas with the pandemic, we're actually seeing people get sick. There are people, in Australia, things are pretty chill, but one of my family members, they have family in Britain, and like they know, like everyone there knows someone who's had COVID, and it sounds like a total mess over there. So like when people can see their friends and family actually getting sick, and their co-workers actually getting sick, and you start thinking, okay, yeah, no, that's actually a problem. Whereas with climate change, they're talking about, if it goes up by this tiny degrees, then we'll get this much sea level rise, and that does this and that. And because it's also like a bigger system thing, if you think about the entire Earth and every single thing that affects climate, it's very hard to calculate. It's very hard to get your head around what is affecting what. And I think that's one of the reasons it's a little bit harder to see it as urgent, at least for some people. On the flip side, though, there's the extremists who think that who literally think the world is ending. And they're the ones who like glue themselves to the street or God knows what. And what's weird about it is like they only want specific things to be done about it. And so if you mention something like nuclear technology, they won't even consider it. They just sort of freak out and they're like, no, it has to be green. Green is like this incredible marketing term to just say, it uses the sun and the wind, and completely ignore how you construct the things. Solar panels have so many different components. Like, how do you think they work? It's not just like putting a leaf out in the sun and plugging it into the grid. Like, you actually have to build these things, and what they're made of. It isn't that like there's a lot of electronics that go into it. Some of the stuff that goes into it is toxic, and some of it is in short supply, I thought, but I don't know for sure that one. The other thing is, like, with those technologies, they're not entirely efficient. Like, you can build a field of solar panels and they're rated for however many megawatts, gigawatts, whatever. But what they're rated as I understand it, is their maximum capacity, and most of those things don't operate at maximum capacity. A nuclear power station might be able to operate at 95% of its, rated maximum or whatever with good consistency. But a solar panel, it depends on how sunny it is, whether there's any clouds, whether there's any snow, how much dust has built up, whether or not it's been cleaned recently, the exact angle of the sun, if it's one that can't move around to chase the sun. And there's so much that goes into determining whether or not a solar panel is going to get even half its rated capacity, never mind the full capacity that you've installed for it. So like the green energy is a lot more complicated than just solar and wind. And there's different kinds of wind. So like, with the wind turbines thing, I don't know for sure if wind turbines have frozen. Like, I've seen people talking about it, but I haven't actually gone off to double check. But what I've heard is, yes, wind turbines can freeze up, and like all electronics have a certain temperature range that they want to operate in. And when your technology relies on the weather, obviously that's going to be variable, and it's kind of tricky to get your technology right to work in all weather. And so in some places, the wind turbines can freeze over, but in other places like Canada, where you're expecting a lot of cold weather, they've actually installed some kind of heating element to keep the things operating. I think I saw as low as minus 30 degrees. But like, if you think about it, if you're having to heat the wind turbine, then obviously you're not getting your maximum efficiency, because you've got to use some of the power to heat the thing so that it doesn't freeze over. I think you can put coatings on some of the machinery to stop it being affected by the weather too much. But yeah, there's all kinds of it's all just to satisfy people's emotional distress. I think people are like legitimately trying to solve the problem, but I think one of the issues is because it's politically attractive now, some governments are jumping on the bandwagon before the technology has quite made it to a point that it really can stand a chance at replacing whatever you want to replace. Burning coal is legitimately a dirty way to get energy. There's the air pollution. Never mind climate change. Like the air pollution from burning coal, and more people die from coal. Like that's kind of undisputed. But when it comes to renewables versus nuclear, like the conversation really starts to get skewed there. And there's some places where I think I've mentioned before, the wind turbines were like so hard to recycle that when they reached the end of their life, they just cut them into pieces and converted them into like kids' playground equipment that looks really weird. And there's only so much that you're going to be able to reuse those things, It just they need to find, if they really want to make solar and wind more viable and like long-term, not making other problems, then I think they've still got a way to go. That doesn't mean they should stop trying. And I get that investing in the technology means there's more money to develop more stuff. But I mean, the fact that we've already got wind turbines that have had to be pulled down because they reach the end of their life. They only last like 20 years, or depends a bit on the design. Same with like solar panels. There are people like in Australia, we've had schemes where if you put solar panels on your house and you make too much energy, you can sell it back to the grid. But none of those schemes lasted very long. And then because of like a boom in rooftop solar, a lot of dodgy, like lower quality panels came out because people just wanted to get in on the subsidies and so on. And instead of lasting like 20 years or so, some of them had to be replaced in like 5 to 10 years. And so like, one, are you really making your return on investment if they're already garbage? And I forget what my number 2 was. I've just gotten a little bit tired there. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, can I really be bothered to keep going on about it? I don't know. Like, it's just, yeah. I don't know. I do feel like, if you're going to use solar, a good application of things like solar and wind power is if you're in the middle of nowhere and it's so hard for a power company to come in and actually give you wide access. And especially in Australia where like bushfires do happen. So, you might be miles away from where things are actually going down, but you lose power because your cable's gone off through the fire zone. It's useful for people to have. Well, I mean, you can have generators, but if you have your own little solar and a little backup battery, maybe that's a way to do it. And walking around. Number two, do poo. Yeah, no, I just completely lost my track of thought. It was one of those things where I had it right in my head, and then as I was focusing on number one, I completely forgot what I was even talking about. This is what I get for not having notes. Is like I genuinely forgot what I was even talking about. My brain was like, "Yeah, no, we're done with that." And like when you're working on something on your computer and something crashes and it does like a little memory dump or something. I feel like that's what just happened to my brain. Is like I'm pretty sure I was talking about was it solar panels or wind power, rooftop solar, and people put stuff on their roof and then they couldn't sell it back to the grid anymore because those subsidies ended. Um, and I think that kind of destabilizes the grid as well. Like a lot of older power grids have struggled with more and more renewables coming, like more and more intermittent solar coming in, and um, um, so they had to take it down early. And I think maybe number two might have been the recycling issues because like if it lasts for 20 years, like if it only lasts for 5 years, imagine you have to replace them every 5 years. That's 4 times as much stuff that you're using instead of like one thing that lasts. It's a bit like, if you buy a phone every year, if you're an environmentally conscious person and you buy a phone every year, you are contributing to waste and resources being used and like all the toxic sort of things that go into making electronics, and the batteries and like all this kind of stuff. If you buy a phone every year, you are not the environment's friend. But if you're an environmentally conscious person who buys one phone that lasts 10 years, then you're doing okay. Like you're doing a little bit better. And it's the same thing with cars. There's the trend to electric cars. I know in like, is it Europe or somewhere overseas, there's incentives to switch to electric cars. But in Australia, we don't really have that so much. There are a few places you can charge your car. It's slowly getting there, but I don't know that Australia's landscape is really suited to electric cars. But some environmentally conscious people wonder, should I switch to an electric car? And the answer is, if your car is garbage and you need to replace your car, sure, switch to electric. But if your car is fine, it's better environmentally to stick with your current car because the amount of stuff you need to make a new car would just erase the benefit of buying electric. So yeah, it's better to stick to your current thing, use it until it breaks, maintain it as best you can, before you switch. And so yeah, I think my other point might have been, I mean, there's the cost. Like the point one, I think, was about the cost that you've spent so much money going on solar, hoping that you'll save money on power, but you have to have it for a certain amount of time to make back your return on investment, or finance words. And then the other thing was on the environmental side, if you happen to buy panels that have failed early, then you haven't really gotten a good return on investment environmentally. I think that's what my brain was trying to do. It's just like all of a sudden my brain was just like, no, I am not participating in this anymore. This is my concentration span these days. I think it's because I'm on the internet too much now. And so my brain, I don't have the concentration span I used to. And I have run out of tea. So let me just row my boat and get my water bottle. I'll be back. Oh, I almost knocked everything. Yeah, still got some water in there. Okay, I'm coming back. I'm here. Actually, there's not a lot in there, so I probably have to go and fill it up again. Once again, my nose is getting a bit funny, and I wonder. I almost sank your chair. Yeah, no, my nose is getting funny again, and so I wonder if the way I talk is sort of messing with it. because this happened last time as well. I'm sure I was fine not that long ago, but after talking, my nose is like, what's going on here? One of these people giving me getting all these notifications on Facebook, and I can't be bothered. God, I admin too many groups on Facebook at the moment, and it's just like constant notifications of people trying to join groups and post their garbage. But on the other hand, I didn't want to just sit there and watch groups not function well. Like, this is the curse of perfectionism. Is like I'm always trying to fix problems that I don't need to fix. It's someone else's problem, but now it's my problem because I've made it my problem. Anyway, I don't know. Caring about things that I shouldn't care about. That's weird. There's things I could talk about on that, but I probably shouldn't. Not publicly and not without a plan. So, yeah. No, there's all kinds of things I would like to talk about, but because it's sort of public on the internet, I'm like, I probably shouldn't say that. That person will get mad at me if I say that. Anyway. Dear, oh dear. No, I do want to get back to making some different kinds of videos though. Like tech videos seem to do well on my channel. I'm not really sure why, because I'm just goofing off. I'm not really trying to be a tech YouTuber. Like if you watch tech YouTubers, they have a specific way of doing things. Whereas I'm just like, oh, here's a thing. There's a thing. But maybe it's because I go into way too much depth when I noticed something, and tech YouTubers might not notice the thing I noticed. Like tech YouTubers I think are focused on like specs and like the things on paper that they're looking for, whereas I might notice something that me as a consumer, as a consumer, like that's something I'm interested in, as opposed to a tech nut. Like people who are heaps into technology aren't necessarily in touch with like your average consumer. Not that I'm an average consumer, I'm a weirdo consumer, but hey, maybe I noticed something weird that other people didn't. That could be a thing, but I don't know. So yeah, the tech videos do well, at least while they're relevant. They finally sort of chilled out in the past week. Yeah. But like, my video about my computer was doing well for ages, and every now and then it still hits my top 3, and I'm just like, why? Why here? Yeah, usually my top 2 are This Fire Burns, because I think it's a popular song in the wrestling community. And so for some reason they keep coming up with me, which probably isn't what they wanted to see. But there's some people who like it and leave me nice comments. And then there's some who are like, what? And then the other video that is usually in the top 2 is my 4 beeps error code on Dell video. And I think that's because as people's computers age, they all have that same problem, and it's easier to watch me fixing it than it is to go Google Dell's old beep codes, because I think they're not up to date anymore. The beep codes have changed. So that might explain why people aren't able to find it as easily. And I guess that is kind of a tech video. So yeah. But no, otherwise, yeah. It after I did my the first batch of S21 Ultra videos, YouTube actually came up with this thing in analytics saying you should do more of whatever you just did. And I was like, yeah, no. I'm looking forward to getting back to a bit more chaos on this channel. I mean, I know my live streams are chaos because my brain is just like thoughts. But no, making some more music and talking about weird stuff if I think of it. And then I've got like a list of things to talk about. You guys also want Taylor Swift and Destruction ASMR. And then some of these are a little bit outdated and I probably won't make videos about them anymore. But yeah, I have a whole list of things to cover for you guys. Buy more phones to unbox. God no. I think I would die if I was having to do tech YouTube, because I just don't care enough. Like, I care while it's relevant to me. And so I look up things. And then once it's done, I'm moving on to the next thing, and I'm tired of tech, and some of the things that the tech YouTubers get hung up on, I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Why is that like, oh, this one is slightly better at doing this? Whoop-de-doo. They're like, they're so good these days. Phones are so good. I mean, there's some that are annoying to use if you go too cheap. But especially with the high-end phones, there's almost nothing to worry about. I feel like last year with the S20 Ultra and the glass apparently breaking very easily, that's a legitimate issue. You don't want to get a phone that does that. But for things that are like minor differences in the tech, I'm just like, oh, I don't give a shit. Go to stores and ask people if you can unbox the phones they've just bought. It makes me think of that Seinfeld episode where they're waiting at the Chinese restaurant and Elaine goes up to a table of people to try and ask for, like, if she can have some of their food. Is that too much of an old 90s reference? And that was in the 90s, wasn't it? I mean, I was a kid then, but today's kids probably haven't watched Seinfeld, so yeah, I've just outed myself as being really, really old. I wonder, I haven't been to a gig in ages. Like, it's been more than a year now since I've been to a gig. And I wasn't going to many gigs before, before everything shut down anyway. But every now and then at a gig, like the bouncer would like check my ID because I look young. Like they have to check your ID, I think, if you look younger than 25. But the implication is that you might be 18. And then I had like a bartender think I was under 18. And I ordered a Coca-Cola anyway, so it wasn't an issue, but they were surprised to find out I was actually in my 30s. I just wonder, like, after all the restrictions, lockdowns, blah, 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 if life kind of destroyed Granny. If life gets back to something a bit more normal and I do start going out again, I wonder if they'll still think that I'm heaps young, or if, like, staying at home, not doing much will have aged me enough that they stop asking for my ID. Sometimes, depending on how I've dressed, they might not ask my ID, especially if I walk in with all confidence like I'm meant to be there. But sometimes that doesn't work. So I'm not sure exactly what I need to do for people to realize I'm not in high school. Age is such a funny thing. And yeah, I don't really know. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not people still think I'm under 18, because that can't go on forever. It can't, really. I don't think I look that young. I think it might be more to do with the way I dress, because I don't dress like one of the crazy things, like, so I have crazy hair, right? And I live in a conservative suburb. Really, like, they're not very adventurous people for the most part. When I used to work in the area, the customers loved me, and they'd be like, I want the girl with the colored hair to do my job, because they knew I was good at it. Now they ask you for your senior citizen card. Well, I do have like a pensioner concession card, well, somewhere, which isn't the same thing, but I'm not a pensioner. So, but yeah, I think that's just because they've decided I'm a nut, so I can have the card, but I'm not a pensioner. I mean, it's just words, but whatevs. It doesn't quite make sense. But what was I just about to ramble about? Oh yeah, no, my hair. So when I was working in the area, the sort of conservative people around here didn't mind too much, because they knew I was good at what I did and blah, 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 blah. But every now and then when I'm walking in the street, particularly past one of the schools, if I pass, like, it's usually a mother. I don't think the dads really pick up their kids or care. But yeah, if I walk past like certain types of the local mothers, they kind of give me a bit of a look. I mean, I don't really try and make eye contact, but every now and then I might catch like a little bit of a disapproving look. And what's interesting is, like, my hair's crazy and occasionally I'll dress crazy, but most of the time when I do dress up, it's like I'm completely covered. Like, you'll see my arms, but with my legs, I almost always have something. Like, I rarely show leg. It's not my style. It would have to be very warm weather for me to feel like that's necessary. So if you think about it, like the designs might be a bit out there, but the actual, like, if you got rid of all the designs and just looked at what shape I was wearing, it's actually kind of conservative. And whereas when you look at like some of the kids, like I'm talking about actual kids, like I can tell they're heaps younger than me. The kinds of stuff they wear is like adult clothing. If you look at some of the really short shorts that some of these kids are wearing, and they're like barely bigger than undies, and I'm just like, but it's nice and normal, and I'm just like, you're looking at me disapproving. And the other thing is, I don't drink alcohol, so chances are these disapproving local mums look at me, think I'm nuts, but then they'll go home and drink themselves stupid, because that happens in some of the, like, it's a reasonably well-off area, and so you do get some of that happening. And then even if they don't drink, their kids are gonna go off and drink, most likely, and get into all kinds of trouble. And here I am. I look crazy, but I don't actually do very much. So I just think that's an interesting paradox, is like being judged on your appearances in that sense. But also, to get back to my point, I kind of dress like a kid, or like what kids used to dress in the 90s, where you just have t-shirts and jeans. Whereas today it feels a bit more like today's kids are dressing like adults. So like I'm an adult who dresses like a kid, and then you've got kids who dress as adults. And so when I turn up somewhere kind of dressing what you'd expect a kid to dress like, maybe that's part of the reason sometimes people think I'm younger than I am. I mean, I do have like that half Asian kind of thing going on, and I don't go out very much. So I don't have like sun exposure evident on my skin. Maybe that's part of it. I'm also kind of skinny, and if you notice, like with young kids, because they haven't quite grown, they look kind of skinny. I mean, it depends a bit on the kid, but that's something I've sort of noticed. And I wonder if, like, there's so many weird little factors that could add up to confuse people about my age. It's just one of those interesting perception things, and the way that appearances are judged. I used to, huh? A girl is hitting on me. I don't know what to do. Probably just ignore it, because I think you're quite young, and so, like, there's no point really when you're young. Huh? Skinny and short. Are we talking about me or someone else? Am I short? I don't really know what counts as short. I think for a chick, I'm probably about average. Um, yeah, I don't know. No, perception of like how people dress and all that. I Before I started doing the more gothic alternative kind of thing, I pretty much just wore trackies. Like, I mean, this is what I wear to work, jeans and this shirt, because I don't want to get clothes dirty. But if you look at this pile of so there's some trackies, there's some green pants and some other green pants. One of the green pants sometimes I wear to bonsai when it's hot, but it hasn't been hot lately, so I'm like, maybe I should just chuck it in the wash already. The other green pants are just for like lazing around the house. And so what I wear most of the time when I'm not out and about being alternative is pretty much what you see in videos: a t-shirt and some long pants. And the green pants are, both green pants are thinner than jeans. So yeah, in summer, I mean, because I don't go outside, so I don't go outside much, so I don't get too hot. If I was going to go out somewhere, maybe I'd wear a skirt, but just around the house, nah. Shirt and pants. And I used to always wear like trackies kinds of stuff, or shirt and jeans. And I kind of hoped, well, I bought into the idea that you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, and I thought other people bought into that idea, and so I wondered why no one ever got to know me and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's just because like I was dressing like appearances shouldn't matter, and eventually figured out that actually they do. And like when you're younger and you're still trying to decide where to go in life, probably makes sense to dress a little bit more conservatively, because if you want to get certain types of jobs, unfortunately, people do judge what you're wearing and all that. But for me, I've sort of gotten to that stage of my life where I just know I'm too much of a nutcase to have a proper job. Like, I'm never going to be a politician. I'm never going to be like a high school teacher, primary school teacher. those kinds of jobs where you have to be a certain way, I would go crazy if I did any of that kind of stuff. Sorry, crazier if I did that kind of stuff. So I can do this kind of thing to my hair. And I know people will like judge me. Some people will find it interesting and maybe they want to get to know me because I have crazy hair. And I do get compliments in the street every now and then. But then they've got the conservative local mothers who think I'm some horrible influence on their kids. And what's the worst I do? I probably swear every now and then. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that goes on in my head that you probably don't need a kid to worry about. But as far as like my behaviors go, I tend to cover up. Because I don't even have like I don't even wear those tops that go down like that we weren't allowed to wear at Catholic school. I just tend to wear this sort of look how long these sleeves are. Yeah, so I dress pretty tame most of the time, unless I'm like going out somewhere and the intention is to be seen and to mess with people. Um, I don't well, no one goes out partying really, but I don't really go out partying. I'd go to a gig every now and then, but I don't get drunk. I don't drink alcohol at all. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I don't sleep around. What are some more things on the conservative checklist? I'm an atheist, so that goes against me for the religious conservatives, but in a lot of ways, I probably live like the Catholic upbringing I had. I don't even have any tattoos or piercings. Like, it's just my hair. My hair is not permanent. If I decide I don't want it to be like this, I can just shave it off and start over. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not like a tattoo you've got to get lasered off or anything. And it's not a piercing that's going to have something there for a while. Like, I can just get rid of it. It's very temporary, but I'm enjoying my hair. What? I got distracted by my hair. Anyway, that was a quick ramble about my appearance. My God, how did we even get onto that? Damn, I've pretty much run out of water. Next time I need a drink, I'm gonna have to go and fill it up. Wow, yeah, I don't know how we got onto that. So what? A girl is hitting on me, I don't know what to do. I would probably just ignore it, really. I mean, I'm not interested in dating, so of course I'd say that. But I think you're young, from what I remember. And when you're in school and stuff, the whole girlfriends, boyfriends thing mostly doesn't matter. Very few people actually meet someone when they're kids that they then spend the rest of their life with. I saw this in school. Like, I saw my friends going off and dating, and I always thought it was a little bit weird because they would break up like a few weeks later, and then they would just sort of like cycle between girlfriends and boyfriends. Hit her back. Oh my God. Oh, now, let's not encourage the children to go for violence, right? Oh dear. But yeah, no, if you're thinking about the whole point of dating is to eventually find someone to settle down with, right? At least from like a traditional perspective. I know there are some people who just sleep around and don't care. But the traditional point of dating is you try and find someone you want to spend a lot of time with. And when you're in school, people just cycle between each other's boyfriends. Like, there was a group of girls and a group of guys, and they would just cycle between each other over like the course of, a few months. And it's just like, what's the point of this? Like, are you actually enjoying this? Or are you just doing it because you think you're supposed to? I don't know. I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it. I don't really understand dating. I have dated. It wasn't for me. Dear, oh dear. Also, like, if a girl is hitting on you online, I would be suspicious because if they know that you're a younger person, they might not actually be a girl. For one thing, like, they might be some old dude in a dingy little warehouse or whatever. trying to find kids to whisk away, it could be something dodgy like that. Even if they send you pictures, you can't be sure. So I would be very careful of anyone hitting on you online. And that goes for adults too, because adults get scammed with romance stuff. So yeah, they might be a major creep, strange danger. Yeah. I think, I mean, online dating works for some people, but um I think if you're into that, you should try and just have it in like real life, because at least you, for one thing, they're a real person. But also, there's something that I found weird about online dating is like it's very forced because you're both there specifically to try and decide if you're going to date the other person. And it's like you're trying to force a relationship. Whereas if you want something that's going to last, or maybe last, I feel like if it just happens, if you meet each other and you just happen to like each other, instead of specifically going out to try and find someone, I feel like if you force it, it might be harder to actually find it. But yeah, I don't know. Different things work for different people, but that's my feeling as someone who doesn't want to date anyway. But hey, so don't really take my dating advice because I'm not really a good source of information for that. But since you asked, that's my answer. Don't worry, I have an IQ higher than Forrest Gump. Just make sure she isn't some kind of MMA. Oh my god. Dear, oh dear. What are we teaching the kids, guys? Eh. Um, wow. So yeah, that was a tangent. Hey, if a girl is hitting on you, I'd say run. Um, you can't just decide to like someone and expect that to work. Yeah. Well, they've also got to like you back. And then there's all kinds of like, I think pop culture has really messed up a lot of expectations about romance and so on. And if you consider like back in the day, like a long, long time ago, um, relationships, marriage and stuff wasn't always about love. It was like about forging alliances between tribes and stuff. Like that marriage has been all kinds of different things. And so the whole romance concept that we have now is a bit different to what our ancestors had, to an extent. Like I'm sure there's emotions and shit in the past too, but not everyone was that lucky to have a relationship they actually wanted to be in. People had much shorter lives back then. Yeah, that's another thing. If you don't like the person you're with, they might just die, and so that's fine. Or you might die, and that's another way to solve the problem. Ironic how you spoke about online dating. Got broke up with a week ago. Never doing it again. It's never worth it. Yeah, I just like try. I think it's better not to try and force it. And while we're on the dating advice, if you are dating someone and they start telling you stuff about like, oh, if you don't accept me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. If they say that, tell them to fuck off. Like just up front, tell them to fuck off. The fact that you're supposedly in love doesn't mean that they can get away with bullshit. People were less spoiled and just accepted their matches when they were forced upon each other. Yeah, I think it was a lot about survival. Like, you're stuck in this situation. What can you do? You've just got to make the best of it. I'm sure there was a lot of crap relationships with, like, abuse and whatever. But you kind of just had to get on with it. And times change as well. Like, there were periods of time where women were legitimately seen as property. Like, in the same way that people used to have slaves and stuff. Like, times changed, thankfully, because I would not do well in any of those scenarios. I think I would probably just run off somewhere and die. I'm not someone who is well equipped for survival, I've got to say. Anyway, yeah, no, if you're with someone and they like blame, well, you do have to be aware of the crap that you are doing that's not helping the relationship. But if they start saying stuff like that if you don't like the crap things that they do, then you don't deserve the good things that they do. That's kind of like this sort of is gaslighting the right word? I don't know. They're trying to make you feel like you have to put up with that crap because you're in love or something. But if they loved you, would they treat you like crap? And it's what is it? There was someone wrote this article. Oh, if I can think of it, it was something like love is not enough, and it was comparing like musicians. So like one of the Beatles, I think, wrote a song that was like all you need is love, but turned out to be like an abusive dick. But then you've got Nine Inch Nails writing love is not enough, and he's got a much healthier relationship, or did at the time of that thing being written. And you can't just say you're in love with someone, or maybe you are genuinely in love with each other, but if you treat each other like crap, that's not a good basis for a relationship. you know you if you consider two people who don't necessarily love each other but they treat each other well, you could get on with each other for a while. And so like if you've been forced into a marriage but you treat each other well, that's productive. No one really hates the situation and you could live with that. But if you love each other but treat each other like shit, you're going to have a shit time. Like, I mean, I get that people have emotions that I don't understand, and so they might want to put up with that. But you've got to like value yourself and not let yourself be treated like that. Like, if they genuinely love you, why would they treat you like that? And just because you love them, you don't have to put up with it. Um, Angie, I always made her problems mine, and it really messed with me sometimes. Toxic relationship. Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be a dick to her, but she shouldn't be a dick to you. It's just like, yeah, yeah. I could ramble about this stuff because my ex was a bit like that. He would say stuff like that, and because it was my first relationship, I was like, is it me? Like he gaslit the shit out of me, and I wasn't really sure what to do about that. Um, and so it's more in hindsight that I've been like, actually, I was right to get out of that relationship. Um, what was one of the other things? Oh, I just had it in my brain, but my brain keeps going off places. Um, yeah. Oh, the other thing is like, he'd say relationships are about communication. And so I'd communicate what my problems were, and then he'd get mad at me for it. And I'm just like, and then I'd ask him what was bothering him, and he wouldn't open up in the same way. And I'm like, well, yes, relationships are about communication, but it's two-way. And if you ask for it, at least try and be constructive about it instead of just getting upset at me for something you asked me to tell you. And if you really want to work through this problem, why would you do that? It's just, yeah, there was a lot of bullshit in that relationship, and it took me a while to figure it out, but eventually I did. And yeah, escaped. And the escape took longer than I expected because I broke up with him, and then we met up. The girl he was dating at the time arranged a situation in which we would bump into each other, and I'm just like, why would you do that? Apparently she saw me as a threat, but she invited me to this thing where we would inevitably bump into each other. It's like, I don't understand some people and the way they want to create drama like that. And like, I never hated her or anything, so anyway, yeah, so we bumped into each other again, and then that was a very confusing time, and I wasn't really sure what to think, because he was doing the whole, "Oh, I've changed, blah 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 blah," and he really hadn't. And eventually, like, um, yeah, no, I think I had to just tell him, "No, bugger off. We're completely done. Like, even with the friends stuff, not even doing that." So yeah, it's I can't like. It'd take me a long time to tell all those stories, but I gotta say, I am sort of over the not talking about it. I mean, there's some stuff that I wouldn't talk about, but for a while I wasn't talking about that relationship because he was like, before I blocked him on Facebook for the final time, which was maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. And since then, I've just not unblocked him. Like, there are times where we've blocked each other and unblocked, but this time I'm like, no, I'm actually done. Good night. Um, So in the time before that, we weren't friends on Facebook, but I know he had someone with access, like looking at my account and keeping tabs on me and being that kind of a weirdo. And so if I said something about him, he'd send me a message being like, I don't like you talking about me. And I'm like, we're not even together. Like, and it's my life. I can say what I want. And, there's that quote where if I mean he knew that I was a YouTuber when we met and all that. Um and so like if you know that someone is very open about their life, maybe you should have treated them better so that you don't end up the topic of their whatever talking. But so for a while with YouTube, I didn't really want to talk about it very much because I figured he might still be keeping tabs on me like a psycho. But I haven't heard from him in a while, and I have dropped in some of these videos that if he does want to give me a proper apology instead of the last message I got, which was sorry, but he knows my email. My email hasn't changed. You may be blocked on Facebook, but you can always email me with a proper apology and we could start over there. But seeing as that hasn't happened, he either isn't interested in that or isn't watching. And so I'm like, well, it's been long enough and I can just say whatever I want to now. You deserve way better. It was a crazy time. So I may start like popping up with more details of things. Although, like, I'm not gonna say who he was, because he's like a really private kind of guy, which is like, why would you date a YouTuber then? Because things are gonna come out. And a real person wouldn't even butt into your life after the breakup. It's complicated, I think, because like we didn't even mean to bump into each other. It's the girl he was dating at the time who arranged that, and I don't understand people like that. She was an interesting person though, and like I would have liked to get to know her better, but because of him being in the picture, it just sort of like destroyed all chance at that. Um, and like with that year afterwards, there's because I hadn't gotten smart enough about what was going on, because he did a lot of like, I think he taught me to be a bit more suspicious of people because he had a lot of these motivations that weren't upfront. And so he would see that in other people and tell me about that kind of stuff, and I came to realize that that's how he thinks. um where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought again. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, my brain just where was I going with that? I don't know. This is just how distracted my brain is. Fuck. No, I legitimately have no idea. Can someone remind me if you know where I was trying to go with that story? 'Cause oh. Um, um, motivations, and the girl, she was interesting. Oh, okay, like, I hadn't so one thing that I regret about that last year before I finally, like, cut off in-person contact, don't be a psycho. No, not the point, but the story, right? So, like, um, one of my regrets is that I didn't get smart enough to it in time, and so, like, some of my like, I was very confused, and I feel like if I'd just been smarter and just been like, "No, I don't want anything to do with you," maybe I could have got to know this girl because like, she was kind of interesting. Um, but yeah, no, I wasn't smart enough at the time in terms of relationships, because relationships just isn't my area. Um, but yeah, that's one of my regrets, is that I didn't figure things out and set things straight fast enough. And so yeah, that whole situation just it would have been better if I'd figured things out faster. Like, I think I kind of knew on some level, because none of like I had few relationships after that, but like from it's just never felt quite right. But I was trying really hard, because people, when you're ace, people are like asexual, so I'm not attracted to anyone really. Um, when you tell people that, they're like, "Oh, you just haven't met the right person yet," or "You just need to grow up a little, blah, 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 blah." And so I was trying hard to understand, and I was even seeing a psychologist at the time who was sort of pushing me in that direction, saying like trying to convince me that being in a relationship was good for me in some way, and just completely not understanding it all. Like if you look at my EP, my asexuality EP, I've got a song about my psychologist who's just like, when I first went in and said, "Oh yeah, no, I'm asexual," she's like, "Are you sure you're not just gay?" And I'm like, "Fuck off," or at least I am now. But and so the day that I came in and told her I was in a relationship, she was like, "Party time, excellent, woo, 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 woo." And I'm just, in hindsight, it was such a harmful thing to have done to me, is trying to convince me of something that just wasn't me. So that didn't help that I was seeing a psychologist at the time who was pushing me to stay in the relationship. And even after I broke up with the guy and was having all these issues, thinking like, is he just messing with me? Like, should I just completely break off all contact in that last year? My psychologist was like, "Well, at least you weren't bored when you were with him." I'm like, "That's a terrible reason to be with someone, because you'd be bored otherwise." It just like, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, being smarter about everything, I really shouldn't have been in that relationship, and my psychologist really shouldn't have been pushing me in that direction. Needless to say, eventually I did stop going to. I think what pushed me over the edge with that psychologist, like, and all of this should have pushed me over the edge, but you try and trust. Yeah, you try and, I mean, they're supposed to be experts, right? So you try and trust their advice. I mean, I was always challenging her on the things that she was saying. I'm very difficult to help in a psychology context. But whatevs. What pushed me over the edge with that psychologist is, I think, the last time I got depressed. So my big, that really long one that started in about 2015, and I think I started getting proper treatment around 2016. I don't even remember, but I was talking to her about stuff. I was keeping a diary, a mood diary. Was it on my old phone or was it on my iPod? Might have been on my iPod. I was keeping, like, I had an app that was like a mood diary, and you say, "How do you feel today?" And you can leave notes, and then you can track how your mood is going. And I think I might have been keeping some health notes as well. I don't remember. But I showed her this stuff, and smarter than my psychologist. Quite possibly, because, like, I don't know how she got to become a psychologist, and I don't know. But so I was keeping a track of my moods, right? Which I thought could be useful, because then I could see how I'm progressing, and I'm keeping an eye on, like, maybe I would eventually see what sets me off in terms of what makes me feel worse or what makes me feel better even, and maybe come up with a strategy. So that's what I thought I was doing. I was keeping a diary of my mood. And I showed it to my psychologist. Like, I showed it to my doctor. My doctor was like, "Yeah, this is great. Go for it. Keep doing it." I showed it to my psychologist, and she said, "Oh, you're checking." Checking is the word she used. And I was depressed. My problem was depression. But she decided to get me to do an exercise to do with anxiety. I've never had a problem with anxiety. Yes, I tend to get a little bit anxious. I'm probably default higher anxiety than most people, but it's never bothered me. I can function with anxiety. Sometimes it doesn't feel nice, like, if you're getting a little bit, if I make a political comment, I do get a little bit anxious about, God, what kind of person is going to come back at me with a 1,000-word comment, and then I'm going to have to come up with my own 1,000-word comment, and it'll just get into this whole territory I don't give a shit about, which is one of the reasons I don't talk politics much, because I just don't have the time for that. But if I leave a comment like that, I do get a bit anxious, and maybe I'll be like, I'll wake up in the morning and be like, "Oh my God, I hope no one left me a comment about that shit." But I can still function, Whereas when I'm depressed, last time I was depressed, I had to quit my job, I had to quit my band. I could not function. I was just like dead every day. That's why I ended up with a watching YouTube habit and not doing really anything. Depression is what my problem was, not anxiety. And she got me to do this anxiety exercise, and I was not into it. I said, "I don't want to do this." She made me do it anyway. And at the end of it, she said, "Did you find any of this helpful?" And I said, "No." And I never went back. I went to another psychologist who was also not helpful, and then a psychiatrist who was not helpful, and then another psychiatrist who wasn't able to help, but he was so much better. He wrote, Mum has sent me a message. I wonder if I have been. Oh. Oh, this is just a thing I've got to organize. Okay, I'll organize that later. Anyway, so yeah, this psychologist, she wasn't good for me in the end. And I mean, my first psychologist wasn't much good either, because when I saw her, this is before I had fully committed to the whole goth kind of thing. Although the first day that I showed up in my attempt at goth gear was kind of fun because, don't show it to this. You can show you, but don't show paperwork to the screen. Oh my god. Dad, you can't, just put it on the floor, because then nothing will show on the camera. Oh, I always leave my door open too wide. Good night. What have we done to my dad? Hello. I'd have told him that sometimes you guys say, "Hey, Dad." Where was I going? So my first psychologist gave me this handout that said, it might have been the one that said happy people live longer. And I'm like, hello, I'm depressed, I'm suicidal, I don't want to live longer. Like, what kind of incentive is that? You know, you tell a depressed person that if they're happy, they'll live longer. I get what she's trying to do. She's trying to say, if we can make you happy, you know, you'll have a longer life, and most people want a longer life. And that's her idea, is to try and, but it doesn't make sense, because when you're suicidal, you don't want to live longer. Like, are you kidding? It was just the craziest. The only thing I liked about my first psychologist is she had a dog called Prince. He was a poodle, a black poodle. And he was great. I loved him in our sessions. But after a while, because I was spending too much time focusing on the dog, she kicked the dog out of our sessions. And I was like, why would you do that? Why would you be that horrible? You know, what if the dog is therapy and you just kicked him out the door? Oh my God, what a sweet dog that was. Anyway, no, I haven't. I mean, psychology, I think, like in psychotherapy, I think it works for a certain type of person, and I don't think that type of person is me. I think I have my ideas. Reverse psychology, you're having people die sooner. Why would you kick out the thing that actually made you happy? Oh, happy is a bit of an exaggeration, but I enjoyed the dog. And yeah. I just see psychologists just don't understand me. And when I first started seeing them, I wanted to see a dude, because, I mean, maybe my logic isn't that sound, but I wanted to see a male psychologist or psychiatrist, because I don't feel that chicks get me. Like, at least guys don't expect to understand chicks, but chicks sometimes think they understand other chicks, and I'm not like other chicks. I have my own ways of thinking, and I'm just a nutcase anyway, and so I don't need someone assuming they know what I think. And yeah. But anyway, no, it is interesting that I think I saw three female psychologists at some point. 4, because there was one I had like one appointment with and was like, this girl is, I think she might have been younger than me, and I was just like, yeah, no, this isn't going to work out. And then I had 2 psychiatrists, and the first psychiatrist was a chick, and she would just, I told her that Cipramil, citalopram, just, it was ruining my appetite, and at some point she increased my dose, and I'm like, I don't want to be on this. And when we had sessions, she just had me talking for ages like it was a YouTube live stream and didn't give me anything to help, really. Like, she wanted to keep me, I think she wanted me to keep a mood diary, which is what I was doing with the psychologist before, and she said I was checking. So I'm just like, but yeah, nothing productive came out of that. It's only when I went to the male psychiatrist that he took me seriously, for one thing. When I said, you know, these things haven't worked for me, he didn't push the issue. He didn't increase my dose of things that I didn't want to be on. He didn't try and do psychotherapy on me after I said, like, look, this doesn't work for me. I don't need to be told these things. I just need to, you know, fix my problem. And then, I was able to call in and be like, I'm having this reaction. Should I keep taking this? And he said, no, that's clearly not the poison for you. He's sort of recognizing, what was going on with me, instead of like trying to, I don't know what the other chicks were trying to do with me, but I think they assumed too much that they knew what I was about. Um, Yeah, whereas this dude, I feel like he actually took me seriously, but he also, because I react badly to so many medications, he also didn't really know what to do with me in the end, because, like, there's only so many things you can try. At present, there's no good blood test to tell you what antidepressants you should be on, blood test or any other test. It's sort of just, like, based on their expertise. And he tried things like, because I'm sensitive, one of the medications I tried, there's a dose that you like, the normal dose that you start on is just a regular dose, but when you come off it, because it takes a while to safely come off that drug, they get very, 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 very small. You can get very small doses, which is designed for tapering off. But we actually started with some of them in the hopes that maybe I wouldn't get a reaction, maybe my body would adjust to it and it would help me rather than screw me up in some other way. That didn't work, but he tried, right? He took my feedback into account and actually tried to find me a solution. um, yeah, so, like, out of all the psychological professionals I saw, that psychiatrist was definitely the one that I feel like did the best by me, even if he couldn't solve my problem. Um, yeah, so but how did we get onto this? Because that other one, the one I was seeing for ages, was a bad influence with me trying relationships. Oh, I don't know, no, this dude, and, like, I think when I first started seeing the dude psychiatrist, I was still dating my last boyfriend, and, like, I was already, when I was talking about the relationship, I was already, like, sort of, you know, I must have expressed something negative, because he said, the psychiatrist, he actually said, "Look, when one of you starts to feel like this, there's a good chance it's not going to last." And what do you know? After a while, I broke up with the guy. Not because my psychiatrist said that, but because when I really look at it, I'm not a relationship person. It was never really going to, and I even went into the relationship not expecting it to last. So, um, yeah, he actually picked up on something that happened in my life that was, like, genuine. Um, I don't think I ever told him about asexuality, and I think at the time I wasn't sure, because, like, I was depressed, right? And so when you're depressed, something that can happen is you lose interest in those kinds of things. And I thought maybe that's what it was. Maybe I'm just not interested in the relationship because I'm depressed. Now that I've recovered from depression, and it's been like that for a few years, I'm like, no, actually, relationships just aren't for me. It wasn't a depression thing. Actually, I feel more like me now that I'm not trying to do relationships, not going against what I actually just experienced for myself. Um, but yeah, no, he picked up on stuff, I feel, more accurately than the chicks did. Now, it's not like a sexist thing or anything. It's just that his style of psychiatry worked a lot better for me as a person. I'm sure, like, the other girls, they're all in business, right? So they're clearly helping someone. They just weren't the right psychiatrist for me. Whereas this dude, was as close as you could possibly get, maybe. I mean, there was a session where my parents came in to talk to him, like, get an update about where I'm going and, what they can do to help and so on. And I'm distracted by the shape of my hair. And he, that's when I really, like, sort of got the idea of how he was a little bit frustrated with the fact that he wasn't able to solve my problem. Um, but yeah, no, the next stage of that would be to give me a tertiary referral, I think, to a hospital, and get someone there to try and help me. But it would be the same thing with trying medications, and it just didn't seem worth it. So yeah, that's why I had to go back to just trying to manage my life, try and figure out a way. I don't know in the end what was the deciding factor or factors in me recovering from depression, but I think there's a lot of stuff. I'm sure I've talked about it somewhere before. And ultimately, I had to come out of depression my own way. And so far, I've managed to stay out of depression, but you never know. I'm always a little bit wary. So that's why I'm very careful about how I live my life now. Um, Interestingly, like the last I had a checkup with my doctor a couple weeks ago, my GP, because like I just keep tabs with her so we update what's going on with my mental health. And she was saying like, one of the interesting things about me, like I do very much do my own thing. Like I do my hair, my own style, and I have a sort of odd kind of life. Um, and, I think we were talking about employment because one thing I am anxious about is like, how do I support myself in the future? And it led to her making a comment about like, because I get depressed if I do things that don't fit with who I am and all that kind of stuff, I kind of have to be myself. Like, I can't be one of those people who just sets everything aside, goes to work, does their 9 to 5 boring job, and then gets back to their life. I have to like be a bit more like, no, everything I do has to be in some way like me. Like, I have to be me instead of, yeah. I mean, it's kind of interesting because that's not really how my high school was, but I did get depressed then, I guess. It's just like the way my psychology is. I have to live life in a way that fits with who I am. Otherwise, I get depressed. And yeah, it is kind of an interesting thing. I'm forced to be myself in a way. Well, how did I get onto that? Oh, I think recovering from depression. Yeah, I think because I know I'm prone to depression, I have to be very careful about what I do with my life. Yeah, same now that I think of it. Hello, hello from Victoria's lockdown, all of Victoria for some reason instead of just Melbourne. Hey, Uh, um, yeah. No, I have to be myself, and I guess coming out of depression, I probably did try and manage my life better, and now I'm still doing that. I mean, the most boring thing I do in my life is my finance job, but it's not too much, so I can handle it. It's only like an hour or two a day, and then I can listen to my music in here, so that kind of helps me get through it. It's not like I don't have to be in an office somewhere wearing proper clothes, listening to horrible pop music because that's what they play in the office. Um, I can be at home in my own space, playing my own music. And yeah, I do a bit of finance, but if you consider my brain is a maths brain, so it's really just putting things in their place, the occasional bit of problem solving, not in a full on heavy way, and not so much that I get bored and start having my brain absolutely drain out my ears. My brain does dribble out my ears a little bit when I'm doing that job, but not too badly and not in a way that's going to make me depressed. So, yeah, otherwise, what I do bonsai. Bonsai is a fun job. Some days I feel tired. I'm like, oh my God, oh, I'm so tired. But once I get there, the day actually goes really quickly. Like I just do the things. Yeah, bonsai is much easier. I've also been helping out with some of the tech problems lately because I know like basic tech. I got to use Microsoft Publisher for the first time in years because they've got some older software and like Microsoft Word was just not doing what it was supposed to do. So I was like, screw this, let's use Publisher. Um, so I wish Publisher was still a thing, but I haven't used Word enough to check, but I'm going to guess that by now they should have fixed that problem where if you move an image, like everything goes out of whack. I'm hoping they fixed that. But yeah, no, I miss Publisher for some things, and it was fun trying to design things on that and then not really knowing what to do with them. Because like you could make a website, I think, on it, but I didn't know how to get it on the internet. So I'd try and make a website and then be like, now what do I do? Because I didn't know, I don't think we had Google at the time. And when we finally did get Google, it didn't occur to me to use it. So yeah, I'd make a website and then be like, okay, now what? Not know where to get the information. That's a problem I've had a lot in life is like trying to do something and not knowing how to actually do it and no one actually telling me how to do it and me not knowing who to ask. But now we have Google and I can figure things out. I just need to know what questions to ask. And that's a tricky thing. And I've realized with some people who are not good at tech, sometimes it's just that they don't know that something exists in order to be able to Google it in the first place. So yeah, that's some interesting stuff. Uh, This nose is going crazy, and, like, speaking of depression, I have to be careful about antihistamines because that's a thing that'll throw me off, but the kids' Dimetapp does okay, it just does make me drowsy, so what can you do? Brains are weird. Um, I kinda needed to go to the bathroom, but I also need some more water, but we're also getting up to 2 hours. No, we're at 1:45. Let me just get some water. I'll resist the need to pee, and we'll try and get to 2 hours. Hang on, hang on. I'll be right back. Ah! Alright, well, so, I'm thinking we'll go to huh? I can't remember if I asked, but have you considered coding? I've got a feeling you don't like it. Yeah, like in high school, we did computing, we did like, HTML, a bit of JavaScript, although I never really understood. I just sort of copied and pasted from some websites and like figured out how to go into the thing where you find out what code they used and then just sort of replicate it and tweak it. But otherwise, I'm not really that into coding. It's just not really appealing. Like, it's nice to know a little bit of basic HTML because then I can do some things. But statistical programming. When I was doing that, was it mechatronic engineering medical science degree? Like, one of the subjects was, like a computing thing where we had to use Excel, and like I made a dice game in Excel, and I've completely forgotten all of that, and it just, yeah, I'm not into. It's just like, I guess it's cool to be able to do it, but I'm happy if I can just make my text bold in a forum. Does that even happen anymore? Facebook has replaced all that stuff. I did used to be in forums, but no, these days it's all Facebook, social media. Social media has replaced a lot of forums in that sense. At least for me. I know there are some that still exist, but my old RPG forum still exists. I'm not going to tell you the name. Because yeah, I don't really need people chasing that up, and there's bits missing, but yeah. Good morning. I've got about 15 minutes. That's the thing I was going to say is I'm going to try and go to 2 hours, but I think I need to stop there because if you remember last week, my voice was getting a bit tired, and so I think I need to set a limit of like 2 hours for live streaming because it's just like me talking and using my voice, and I've got to look after myself in that way. So, if anyone wants to jump in with something urgently in the next 15 minutes or so, until we get up to 2 hours, and then I'll start wrapping it up. So, if you're just waking up or just joining us or whatever, and you haven't had a chance to throw a topic at me, now is your chance while I just have a quick drink. Yeah, we've covered a lot of topics today, including some that I'm, would be anxious about sometimes. Like, if I say something about climate change, who am I going to upset? Because I have issues with both sides of the argument. There's the, the extremists who think it's the easiest thing to solve, and why don't we just do this and this and this without looking at reality? And then there's the other side who don't think it's an issue, and blah, 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 blah. And then there's like hardly anyone on either side talking about nuclear, which is an option I would really like explored a bit more. Because, sometimes it's a bit hard to know exactly what to think about the different kinds of technology, because then you've also got nuclear advocates who are very keen on their own thing, and I think sometimes overlook some of the things about nuclear that maybe we haven't entirely sorted out. So I'm just like, oh, no one is. And then talking about relationship stuff, there's always a little bit of like, oh God, what comments am I going to get about that? Gonna be sad, but I should sleep anyway. Yeah, I don't know what time it is where you are, but if you need to go sleep, go to work, go to whatever, the video will still be here. You can always catch up. If you remember what time code you leave, maybe you can just jump in again and watch the ending later if you want. But yeah, so in the last few minutes that I have, what was I just saying? That's too early in the morning. And wait, how long have you been awake for? My God. I need to sleep around like midnight, and then I sleep until about 10. But to be fair, everyone here wakes up at about 6, and I'm kind of half awake for a lot of that. Although I do have like some weird dreams sometimes. And I wonder what happened to that guy in my dream last night. I think he didn't realize it, but he'd stolen some kind of artifact. And so then there's these, the entire night. Oh my God. There's these sort of like tribal looking ghosts who are chasing him, but only it's a bit like Lord of the Rings, where if you only see the spooky things if you're wearing the ring. I don't know what triggered it, but like he could only see these spirit guys in some mode, and otherwise they'd sort of disappear, and and no one can see these other things anyway. But for some reason I'm observing this, and then all of a sudden it's like a sort of tree catapult sling thing, and he goes flying off into the distance. But I guess it's like in a game where you get transported to another space, and this whole time he's trying to look for something to get rid of these tribal ghost people, and really all he needs to do is give back the artifact. It was one of those kinds of dreams, and this is happening in this modern looking building, but it turns into a treehouse, and then there's all this forest, and he gets flinged into the distance. That was the end of last night's dream before I woke up this morning. Brains do strange things. Sometimes I write down my dreams. I usually write down my dreams if they're destroyer type dreams. So dreams where I'm not evil. Not really, but or maybe not knowingly, or maybe I am and no one's found me out, and I tend to wake up either when I'm about to transform into some kind of monster, or I'm about to be found out for whatever I happen to be in that dream. I've had everything from like Medusa type things to just crazy person in general. That sure was a dream. But there have been some dreams where I haven't woken up and things have gone down, and some of those, there's one involving like dragon stuff. That yeah. One day I've sort of been like, should I turn my dreams into a book, a bit like I've done books with my poetry, and I've still got to finish the next book. I'm not sure what's going on with Lulu. I don't know if they're good again yet, and if it's worth trying them again or what. And I haven't finished typing up the next book anyway, and I wanted to combine my first 5 books so that it's cheaper for people to buy it if they want. I just haven't got around to any of those things. But I have sort of wondered, like, should I, when I get to 100 dreams or whatever, should I put them into a book? But there are some dreams that I'm just like, I don't know that I need people to know that was in my head. So, I had a dream when I was like 5 where I was being chased in the desert. I fell down a far, far cliff with spikes and bodies. Quite the dream for a 5-year-old. Holy shit. What that makes me think of is in The Lion King, where Simba's being chased by the hyenas and he flies off into this thing of thorns. That's the closest I can think of from like a kid level. Wow, 5 years old though, shit. Dreams of transforming into a monster sound like fun. Yeah, well, when I have those kinds of dreams, I definitely have a vibe for the rest of the day where I'm just like, ooh. And I might be more inclined to watch some of my split personality fiction. Very similar, but those animals at the end were spikes. Huh? Animals. I mean, like the thorns. Simba falls into a patch of thorns, and then the hyenas fall in as well, and then they decide they're not going to chase him because it's too hard and he'll probably die in the desert anyway. And then when you talk about animals at the end with spikes, I thought I misread initially that I thought maybe you meant the animals were pierced on spikes. And what that makes me think of is the animals of Farthingwood, if anyone watched that cartoon. And there's is it the butcher bird? Pip gets the mice and stabs them on thorns and stuff. That was a delightful kid series. Have you done the transformation and woken up like that before, if you know what I mean? Yes, and it's always a little bit weird. Animals are fine. I'm glad someone else. We had 6 VHS tapes of it, and how does the song go? It's like do 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 do. And yeah, and the red wolves and the blue wolves and all that. I loved that show. The whole, like, first of all, getting to what is the I forget what the place is they're going to with the white stag and all that. And then when they get there, kids Game of Thrones. I've actually not watched Game of Thrones because, like, I think that I first came across that when I was with my ex, and anytime I walked into the room, it was like a sex scene. And he's like, but it has dragons. You like dragons? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not sitting through all this crap. And as far as I'm aware, that never really changed. So yeah, dragons, yay, but I'm not sitting through all the other garbage. So, meh. But yeah, no, Animals Are Falling was great. I wonder if I can get it on DVD somehow. We also had we tracked down The Land Before Time, the original. Like, I know there's others after it, but when I watched them, I was a bit like, eh. But The Land Before Time is devastating as a kid, like when the mum dies. And yeah, there's plenty of cartoons that'll traumatize you as a kid and maybe turn you into a bit of a psycho as you get older. Yeah, no, The Land Before Time's great. And, like, the way cartoons used to be done, I mean, not that I really watch many cartoons these days, so I don't necessarily know what's changed, but Dave watches kids' cartoons, and so that's my best attempt at keeping up with him. And then Mum's really into Pandora, and so she likes Pandora Disney as in particular, and so she was looking at some of the charms and like, oh, I haven't watched that. So she's recently watched Mulan and Stitch. Lilo and Stitch. And I think there's a few different Lilo and Stitch movies, or I don't know. She's been watching that on the Disney Channel, and the day she was doing Mulan, like, Dave and I know the songs in Mulan, or at least recognize them. And so, like, she's just in the other room, like on a little couch with a little blanket watching Mulan, and I come in and I'm like, what? And I ended up watching the rest of it with her. And then Dave comes along and is like, what? Mum's so cute like that. Oh dear, dear. Oh dear, dear. I keep telling Mum that she should come on YouTube and, like, I don't know, teach us all how to cook or something, but haven't quite gotten to that stage. I've been working on it, but yeah, no. Unfortunately, if there's any cooking videos, it's going to be me cooking, and that's, what have I cooked for you? Yes, please. I think all I've cooked for you guys is, like, spaghetti bolognese and udon, so not exactly the most difficult things. But Mum likes the way that I do udon, so I'm doing something right. Like, the way I make the soup and all that, it's good. So there's, at least some of the stuff I know how to do, I do okay. But yeah, no, I haven't quite got to that point of convincing my mum to join my channel. I said, why don't you start your own channel with all your cooking and so on? And she's like, yeah, no. But I said, Mum, but every time you come on, everyone's like, your mum's so cool, and, but no. How many of you guys watched my toilet paper making tutorial, the extended cut, and stuck all the way to the end where my mum gets her own spot and watched her with the bacon paper? I mean, we didn't plan that. I just thought she was going to do a quick thing and that'd be the end of it. But no, she just went on and on with this improvised thing. And I'm like, where did this come from? And so, like, when you put a camera on my mum, I watched it, but I can't remember. Well, if Melbourne ends up in more of a lockdown and you run out of toilet paper, you can watch my tutorial and watch the extended cut. Yeah. And then you'll be set. But yeah, no, when I put the camera on my mum, like, Mum was a finance person. She's got a maths brain like me, but when you put the camera on her, all of a sudden this performer comes out, and I'm like, this is amazing. And so, yeah, that whole Mum is very adorable. She has that Japanese thing going on as well. And yeah, she just improvised that whole thing, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I think she was a little bit nervous about it going out. So, like, she was happy for it to go out, but I thought, okay, I'll put it at the end of the video because people will have tuned out. I think it's like I have the tutorial, then I have me rambling, and then I have Mum's segment. And yeah, I figured a lot of people will tune out while I'm rambling, and then it's only the dedicated people who know to watch to the end and get Mum's bit. So that's why I placed it like that. Like, I would have loved to put her up front, with her own tutorial, but I thought, no, well, Mum's not sure about this, I'll put it at the end. If you want your mum to get into YouTube, you'll have to be a camera person for you. Oh yeah, of course. I would help her with all that kind of stuff. But she's still a bit like, no, don't know. But if I turn the camera on, it's like I think I was filming Mikey, and Mum just happened to be in the background, and all of a sudden she gets up with her Gudetama t-shirt and is like, Gudetama! Da, 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 da. I didn't tell her to do that. She just, oh, so funny. Oh, Mum's great, Anyway, so we are coming up to 2 hours. Who is messaging me? You are missing my live stream. Also, I have that propaganda too. Come have a look. I'll show you. Do you guys want to see my propaganda? Dad found this for me. Petition NCCP. Eliminate the demon CCP. It's the Chinese Communist Party. And it doesn't say really who it's by, but it's just nccp.com. Sign the petition, scan me, blah, 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 blah. If you want to have a look at it, it says all this kind of stuff. If you want to go back and pause it, here's the other side. So that's the thing. Dad picked it up for me. I collect propaganda sometimes. I have a stash of like Scientology propaganda somewhere, and then I have some anti-CCP propaganda, which tends to be, I think it's Epoch Times is the one that I pick up. Like every now and then they're handing out these newspapers, or they've actually sent some to our house. I think they just like did these random neighborhood drops, and we happened to get a couple. And I'll just keep this here in case Cam actually shows up. No, he hasn't looked at my message. Yeah, and then the Epoch Times turns out to be run by Falun Gong, I think, or it has strong ties with Falun Gong. And I suspect that this does too, because if you notice, one of the things they have is the Falun Gong kind of thing. And they seem to be one of the biggest voices to do with China that is anti-CCP. I feel like no one, like there will be other groups, but I feel like they're probably the most vocal. Have you gotten Christian comics? No, I haven't got that, but I've picked up some Scientology, and I've picked up some, anti-CCP, and like, I'm not a fan of the CCP, but I'm also suspicious of propaganda like this when I see it, because I know there's another organization behind it. And Falun Gong, I've heard mixed reports, because for the most part, it does seem like they were victims. But then there was also another thing I saw talking about the leadership, and that sounded dodgy too. So it's like, are you swapping one cult for another? Alarms went off. Sonia's chilling watching. Oh my god, you need to get some sleep, especially if you're younger. Like, it's important to get good sleep. Otherwise, I don't know, maybe you turn out like me. In that case. No, I need to get more sleep. I know that. I think I tend to get depressed a bit if I'm too tired, because then your brain doesn't have enough left, like doesn't have enough resistance for when the depression sort of kicks up. So like sleep's important. Although I know, like with teenagers, I don't know how old you are actually, but with teenagers you do tend to stay up later and then wake up later, and then your body clock is supposed to get more towards the morning. But consistent sleep schedule, yeah. I still have a bit of a teenage sleep schedule, I think. Like my body just naturally does that, and it's not really how it's supposed to be at my age. I should be more like in a normal sleep pattern, but I'm not. And I think that might be related to depression, because to be fair, my depression tends to be biological, and with melancholic depression, 12. Oh, well, you've got a lot of fun shit ahead of you, hey? I'm maybe not the greatest influence, but yeah. Get some sleep, basically, although it might be a bit too late today, but when sleep time comes around again, probably a good idea to try sleeping. It gets better with age. Mine was really bad and really hard to make normal until like 25 plus. Yeah, I think because like with melancholic depression, you tend to feel worse in the morning, and so that's probably messed up my sleep pattern. A lot of fun ahead of me, 12 years old. Yeah, no, that's why I'm sort of like a bit wary. Like, what should I say when the kids are around? But it's not really my job to be a parent, right? So hopefully I'm not being too, that's it, too, what does that say? I don't know. But hey, you seem to be like fine with all this stuff. So, I mean, when I was 12, I was just at home playing Pokemon. But hey, we've all got to have hobbies, right? And so if I can be a good influence, I would say get sleep. Like everyone who's watching this, try and get some good sleep, because I do think I feel a bit more depressed when I'm tired, because you just don't have that resistance to like some of the crap thoughts. And also if your biology is off and your brain's just like, no, and you start feeling kind of garbage. So yeah, sleep is one thing that I think helps with the depression, but I do think I'm stuck in that sort of teenager phase. I don't know if like that's just me biologically, or if it's a habit I've picked up from so much melancholic depression that I just couldn't do mornings. Lockdown has made me every 12-year-old. Battle hardened and fearless. We've already lost our souls. Oh my God. When I was 12, I was just like, I want to catch Pikachu. And here you are with this. Although when I was 12, I think maybe Gold and Silver might have been out, so I might have been off to catch Lugia. But no, when I was reading Animorphs, and behind there I have the whole set of Animorphs, and so I was getting paranoid about putting things in my ears, and yeah. I think I might have already been an atheist by that point, though. But yeah, I didn't really get the existential we've already lost our souls thing until like, I don't know, I'd gone through puberty and I was in high school, and at some point the whole like, if I'm an atheist, then there's no point to any of this, that just hit me. When I was 12, that's when Red and Blue came out and got obsessed for life. I can't do Pokemon anymore. It's changed too much, and they also dumbed it down a lot. Like, they should know that half the people still playing Pokemon are old people like us. But no, they dumbed it down, so now you can use a TM a gazillion times. Puberty, my worst enemy right now. Yeah, it's interesting, we'll say that. But yeah, no. So these days you can use TMs as many times as you want. So you don't need to plan ahead. If you get like that one amazing TM, now you can just keep using it over and over. PvP is where the fun is. Story mode was always dumbed down. No, see, for me, PvP, and I've really got to make this video about me and competition. But one of the problems for me with multiplayer, like, is like, I did go in one of those like tournament kinds of things. I signed up when I got Pokemon Diamond, I think, and it was full of these nerds, these uber nerds, and when you look at the screen, they all have the same party, and I was the only one like doing things my own way with Pokemon I like my own balance of team. They'd all gone on the internet, figured out what the absolute ideal configuration is, and then they were all using the same Pokemon pretty much, and it was the most boring thing. And it's like when I played Magic the Gathering, I mean, never mind the competitive thing, because I'll make a video about my issues with that, but because they're all trying to win, like they're all spending hundreds of dollars to get exactly the same cards that some fancy, top-rated player in America has picked, and they're all copying those kinds of ideal decks. And so anytime you play someone, it's the same shit over and over. There's no variety. There's only people like me who've decided that trying to win's not worth it, and we should just like have fun with it. And so I'd come up with these weird combos, which rarely ever work, but when you did pull one off, people are like, what the fuck? That was fun, but it's so hard to pull off because everyone's doing these hyper efficient decks that are just boring because everyone has done exactly the same damn thing. I did the same for Diamond and Pearl. No matter, I found the research of finding out what's the best fun plus adding a bit of randomness. It's competitive rock, paper, scissors. Yeah, see, I wasn't into that. I was just like, literally everyone, like every battle looks exactly the same. It was dead boring. And it's the same with when you're trying to play someone in Magic. You're playing the same decks over and over and over, and you're just like, fuck, I've seen this already, and I know how much money you guys have spent on this. It's just, I'm not into that. That's why I don't like those deck games. A lot of people aren't into that. Yeah. And that's what I found with Pokemon as well. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. But so like I used to enjoy the stories, and I used to you know, try and plan out what TMs am I going to use at what point. Like I got to save this TM for a particular Pokemon. And then when you get poisoned and you're trying not to die because your last Pokemon is poisoned, and you're like one step from the Pokemon Center and then it dies, and you're like, no. You know, today's kids don't have that experience of dying of poison damage right at the last minute. It's so much sweeter to win with an odd deck. Yeah, my favorite thing that happened to me with Magic the Gathering is I was you know, doing one of my weird decks. I had I had an indestructible Death Touch rat, I think, holding a World Slayer. So I'd come up with this combo. Was it a Death Touch rat or a Death Touch cat? I don't remember. So I think it was a rat. It had Death Touch. So if you touch it, if the other player attacks it, then even if they kill it, they die too. I made it indestructible, so they can attack it, but they can't kill it. So they attack me, they die. And then I had a World Slayer. So if they attack me and I hit them back with the World Slayer, everything that isn't indestructible on the field dies, like including all your land. Is it land? It's been so long since I played. And so there's this one guy, I had that combo out, and he, like, you know, if you're sensible, you don't attack in that situation. You wait until you have some kind of spell to get rid of my crap so that you can attack me and finish me off, or you find some other way to deplete my life points. Is it called life points in Magic? I don't even remember. I'm too Yu-Gi-Oh! And so, but for some reason, he was just like, nah, fuck it, I'll attack. And then the look on his face when I was like, right, well, all your lands are in the graveyard or whatever it is. And the look on his face, and then he had nothing for a while. And I had the only thing I had on the field then, because my land died as well. The only thing I had was this Death Touch rat with one attack point, and so I'm chipping away at his own life points, like turn by turn, until he can get something on there to defend. He ended up beating me in the end because, like, I had nothing, but the look on his face when I just destroyed everything on the field except for this one fucking rat. It was amazing. Money. Oh, I just, like, that was the best combo and the most fun I ever had with Magic the Gathering, is getting a guy to attack me with that combo and watching the look on his face when he realized what he'd done. Is that why they call you DestroyerMariko? No, the whole Destroyer thing, it's a little bit complicated in terms of like the whole history, but it's like, in short, like my alter ego, sort of like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, and where the name comes from and all this kind of stuff. It's a long story. So I've got to figure out a proper way to explain it without minimizing what it means to me, but without overblowing it to the extent that people worry about me. And that's kind of difficult. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Gotta go watch the video series. Yeah, I made 2 videos and then I got distracted and I think I just wasn't sure how to explain it. But I feel like I need to, because there's a lot of people who've subscribed and I know that they don't really know. So like I forget who knows, because there's there's some of you have been around for ages, and then some of you have changed your names, and then some of you have been around for ages but not said anything, so then I don't remember which ones are your names. But I know there are new people who don't necessarily know the mythology of the channel, I guess, or the mythology of me. And so I feel like I need to explain stuff. But another thing, actually, I should have I think those first two are decent enough. Okay, because like I haven't watched them. I think I also got a little bit embarrassed because it's something I do get insecure about, and so I have not watched them. And I also unlisted the playlist because I just got a little bit like I kind of panicked. I had that deer in the headlights kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll revisit them and just check if they're good enough. And then there were other things I wanted to talk about in relation to it. Like I had a whole list of stuff to talk about. That's why I don't nag for more. Yeah, like it's something I would like to go into. But the other thing is, I think another reason I stopped making the videos is because sometimes it just kind of disappears and I just don't. If I don't have that pressure building in my head, then I'm like, well, does it even exist right now? And so it's hard to talk about unless I'm actually like in the middle of it in a way, or like just have it in the back of my head. And a lot of the time these days I don't. I've got other things I'm distracted by. And it's like in the past I used to say that I thought maybe I'd grown out of it, and then every time I thought that, it would come back, and that pattern still happens, but it's weaker than it used to be. So yeah, it's hard to talk about in that sense because if it does turn up these days, the pattern is if it's going to turn up, it's when I'm just about to go to bed, or like I'm in bed and then I'm so tired that like the body is tired, so it doesn't matter what the mind wants, we're gonna sleep. And maybe I'll have an odd dream, and maybe I'll wake up in a bit of a state, but once the day gets going, it's kind of just back to regular life. Hang on, you just finished work. Well, that's no good. You can't be on my stream, can you? The guy who's showing me this, so I'll just put that away then. Yeah, so, but sorry, my nose is really doing a thing for me. Another thing, okay, so I should have put this at the start of the video, because one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about is like the situation being, there are a lot of new people here who don't know key things about me, about the channel, about the stuff we talk about here. And then also YouTube keeps saying, you should have a channel trailer. And so I'm like, well, I'm never going to make a normal channel trailer where you have like 2 minutes just to say, hey, come here and subscribe. So I'm thinking for my channel trailer, maybe I do a like, here's some facts about me and my channel, or getting to know me, or here's a list of stuff. And I'm just like, you guys know me better. What should I include? What are the things that I need to include in something like that, where I'm sort of introducing my channel to someone who's new? I also wanted to ask new people, but I'm not sure if there's anyone who's like heaps new here. So maybe I need to make a separate video going, hey, new people, what do you want to know about me? And then I'll incorporate that into a channel trailer at some point. But for those of you who have been watching for a long time, what are some things that I might forget to include that I should include? I guess I could always just leave people in the current situation where they have no idea what's happening, and any video could go up at any time. But I feel like I should try and introduce the channel a bit better. And this is thinking about, like, I've still got the memberships thing in mind. It's just like there's so much to do, and I'm still working on this music video, and there's so many things I always want to do. And even though I don't do much with my life, I always feel like there's just not enough time. And I think I spend too much time on the internet and too much time watching videos of that guy destroying phones, doing his scratch test. It scratches at 6 with deeper grooves at level 7. We talk about cheese and instant 1 million subs. Yeah, that's hard. Oh, I could make a trolling channel trailer, but I feel like I should actually try and make a video about like, hey guys, welcome to Chaos Land. Anything happens on this channel because it's just whatever I feel like at the time. Sometimes I'll go on a tech thing, sometimes I'll go on a fashion thing, sometimes I will film an ant carrying my toenail like a sword. You should make it one of those creepy odd dog videos. I could, hey. Oh my god, there's so many ideas, and that's one of the reasons it takes me so long to do some of those things. Is just like, there's so many options, what could I include? But yeah, no, I've got to get this music video done, and it's getting so close, and I can't wait to show you guys, because like I've put so much effort into it, and hopefully it looks all right. Like, I think it's actually interesting to watch, and like, if you really wanted to get it, you might have to watch it like twice to take in everything, even in its current form. It's not even finished. I'm like, wow, because sometimes I have to watch it twice just to be like, hang on, I missed the thing that I was actually looking for in this run of it. So I mean, I don't want to talk it up too much, but I do feel like it's turning into that kind of thing because it's DIY, and to cover up for the fact that it's DIY, I've just put so much effort into it with editing and all that. So hopefully it pays off. I mean, I'll show you guys when it comes. I'll let you know when it's coming. But yeah, I'm excited about that. And then, yeah, I think I do spend too much time on the internet. I've got a bit of an internet addiction, and I think that's left over from when I was depressed, because I didn't really watch much YouTube until that last depression when I couldn't do anything. So I was just sitting around all day. Having a blank screen saying hi and having the video title and you say hi. Just like a 1-second video saying hi. Oh dear. A bit like that time I made the video for all the fans. If you go to my channel and search, maybe if you just say special video for the fans, that should bring it up, I think. That was one of my high quality videos. Just use that video. Actually, I kind of want to hurry up and get some more poetry videos out because I want to reuse that song I did back when. Special video. Emoji. Oh my god. Yeah. Anyway, no, I need to try and control the internet addiction. And YouTube does get to a point where it keeps showing me the same stuff over and over, and I'm just like, I'm not interested in any more ship building videos, or I'm done looking at phones. Stop showing me that. But it keeps showing me stuff, and when that happens, I tend to watch less YouTube. But yeah, I didn't really watch much until I got depressed, and I still have a bit of that habit. And then playing the Neopets, which is what I'm going to do next because I haven't done my dailies yet, before I go to bed, with my voice going a little bit crazy because I have been talking a little bit too much. But if I raise the pitch a little bit, I think that takes the pressure off my vocal cords. Oh, I'm gonna train my pet. Oh yeah, I should train it so I can do more Battle Dome, but I'm kind of honestly since I maxed out my bank account level, I don't really have a proper goal for why are you messaging me again? Can watch, but can't comment on my phone for some reason. Ta-da! I have the thing. This is for my friend who sparked this, and everyone is saying yes, please. They want to sign the petition, and I expressed my suspicion of propaganda in general, because there is a group behind that, and I don't necessarily trust them either, even if the ultimate goal I kind of support. Just exactly what they're going for, I don't 100% know, so I'm always a little bit suspicious. But hey, yeah, no. What was I just mumbling about? All the things that I have to do. So I need to try and watch less YouTube myself so that I can make more YouTube, because making a video takes so long. So I have to watch myself usually twice, once while I'm editing and then once after I've uploaded it, and I need to make sure all the cards and that no one ever clicks on are in the right place. But I have to do it because my brain is like, there's a thing I have to do. So maybe there's a secret Chinese honeypot to see how many detractors live in Australia. Hey, could be. I'm just saying I don't necessarily trust Falun Gong much more than I trust the CCP. But hey, no, Scientology propaganda is fun to collect. I mean, the anti-CCP propaganda is interesting because if you read it with that perspective, knowing that it's propaganda, it's fun to pick out the things that seem like fact and then pick out the things that they may have exaggerated or twisted because it suits their viewpoint. I find that interesting. But no, Scientology propaganda is good, especially because I like those odd belief systems. That's the whole vampire thing. I need to talk about vampires at some point because Mum was watching a show, I think it's called Harrow, and the recent episode had vampire type stuff in it, and I was like, the anti-psychiatry stuff. Yeah, they had an anti-psychiatry exhibition and I went in and had a great time looking at all that kind of stuff. So crazy. Another thing that could have merit, but it's Scientology. Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, psychiatry works for some people, but I think in America in particular, they overdo it. And then there's certain things that I'm a bit iffy about. Like, when I was younger, like ADD was really taking off, and it was sort of like, are you over medicating kids too early? Blah 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 blah. I guess that still happens to some extent. But yeah. Uh, anyway, so I need to make a channel trailer. If you have more ideas, pop them in the comments once the live chat's done, but I guess I could go for one of those crazy ideas as well. We just mess with people here, don't we? Oh my god. Was there anything else I needed to say? Because I've gone half an hour longer than I meant to. Well done, guys, keeping me going. Anyway. No, I need to do more vocal practice as well. I think I need to get more efficient with my creative life, because I am wasting a lot of time. Like, yes, I do manage to always find ways to keep myself busy, but I also know that I'm spending a lot of time just goofing off, and sometimes like with internet hypnosis. But on the other hand, do I need that as downtime to keep functioning without getting depressed? Who knows? But I don't want to use that as an excuse to goof off. Like, yes, I do get depressed, but there are certain things I want to achieve. And so I can't just use, oh, I might get depressed if I don't goof off. I don't want to use that as an excuse. I want to keep pushing myself to try and do the things I want to do. So I just have to manage it appropriately. And if I really do need the downtime, then I take it, but I don't use it as an excuse to take downtime. Does that make any sense at all? I don't know. But yeah, no, there's so much I want to do, and it's so hard sometimes to decide which to do and then actually do it. And but no, I'm really focused on getting this music video done. I do have to do it in like small chunks, because my eyes get a little bit like after a while, and sometimes you just need to go away and come back and look at it. And yeah, sometimes my concentration span, I'm just like, I can't keep looking through these video effects. And so it's taken a while, because my concentration span is not what it used to be. I mean, if you've watched this whole stream with me, thank you for enduring my frequent brain spasms where my brain is just like, wait a minute, what was I talking about? And so doing your own thing can be tough, at least for me anyway. Yeah. Well, the toughest one for me will be writing my own music again. But it's something I want to do. I really want to get back on the music bandwagon and just make my own kind of project. I don't know if I'll find a band, so I just want to get moving on my own stuff again. Finish recording The Truth, maybe release that at some point. I'm just not sure about mastering. Like, how do I want to approach that? But I'll figure it out. Now I'm burping inside my mouth. And my nose is all like, nah. And I've been talking for too long. So yeah, I think those are the things. So less technology videos now that I've got everything. Don't tag me in bonsai stuff. Don't tag me in unicorn stuff. Don't tag my page. I mean, if you're promoting my page, sure, tag that on Facebook. But if you're trying to get my attention, it's maybe not the most efficient way, because Facebook hides stuff if it's a popular post. So yeah, don't tag me in those things. I've been learning coding for like 10 years, but it took a PhD for me to get moving. Yeah, I do find like I need motivation for some things. Like, I find uni has helped me learn stuff a lot faster than if I tried to learn it on my own. I think I do well in a class environment, or used to. Now I don't have the concentration span. Now I'm just like, oh my God, class moves so slowly. Why do we have to go at the pace of everyone else? And then, I'm done with study. I'm really done with study. I just can't anymore. The teachers frustrate me. The environment frustrates me. Although, to be fair, my degrees aren't exactly the most... Hello! I'm just about to leave, actually. I'm sorry. But, yeah, no, to summarize, I was just doing like a summary and then getting sidetracked again. But basically, less tech videos now that I've received everything, blah, blah, blah. And also, Mum has taken my Buds Pro. So, like, I tested the main things I wanted to test. I was a little bit curious about recording video with it. But when I did record a bit of sound, I think in the sound recorder, I might have tried it. It seemed very compressed, and it was not really the sound that I was looking for. And I think that's because it's designed for phone calls rather than nice recording. So I think I'll just record off the cameras, off the phone's built-in audio, because that seems fine enough. But I don't think there's going to be too much more tech videos for a while, because I think unless I discover something interesting, I think I've done it. The other thing was, yeah, if you're on Facebook and so on, don't tag me to try and get my attention. Like, I've seen all the bonsai things that you're probably going to show me. I've seen all the unicorn death metal things that people want to show me. And also, if you tag my Facebook page, not my personal profile, if you I mean, that one, sometimes things get lost, but it seems like if you tag my my artist page, it doesn't necessarily come up, like, I just can't find the comment. And then the last thing was that I forgot to mention at the start is I need to make a channel trailer. So if you're new, tell me what you want to know about me and my channel so I can maybe address that. If you're not new and you've been around for a while and you know things about me, what are the important things to do with the channel mythology that I need to inform the noobs about so that they can understand what we're even talking about half the time when we go on like little rambles about things that are maybe very channel specific, like, in jokes or, yeah, the channel mythology and things that I might have forgotten. Or if you just want to mess with people, chuck me some more hilarious ideas to mess with people. And I think that's everything. We've gone for 2.5 hours, which is half an hour more than I meant to. So I'm sorry, anyone who's just tuned in. But I've got to get into my pajamas, fix all my Neopet stuff, and go to bed and rest. And then tomorrow, Dad's given me some paperwork to do. So, yeah, I think I'm done. Unless anyone has like a last minute thing to jump in really quickly. How are you? I'm well, by the way. I'm good. I'm doing well. I'm healthy, apart from like my hay fever screwing up and my voice getting a bit tired from talking for too long. Inhale screams. Are they bad for you? I don't know. General wisdom says yes, but apparently there's not a lot of science done on it, so. Bye! I'm gonna go. No one else is saying anything, so I'm gonna end the stream. Thank you for joining me! I will see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Sydney time, and potentially whatever videos between now and then. See you guys.